Welcome to the Conscious Investor. Let's get started. Have you ever heard the golden rule, right? The classic golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. Something along those lines. If you, a lot of people will say like, oh, just read your Bible. It's in there. It is in there. Jesus said that. He actually said, treat others the way you want to be treated. And if you read it in the King James version, it probably has a lot of these and thous and things like that. And the reason I mention this is that it's really interesting that having been raised in a place of faith, and if you listen, you know I have a very strong faith and love and devotion to following Jesus Christ. And yet I have only come in very recent times to really embracing the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. I only treated it 50% of the way. And I think a lot of people are going to identify with this. It's like, you end up looking at the golden rule about others. And I think there's some science behind this about what we focus on. When I used to work with, children in education, they always said, avoid using the word don't in your directions because the kids will latch onto those words, right? Like, do not use the scissors, do not, whatever you say, do not, they're going to want to do. And so for some reason, it's like this simple thing of like, treat other people the way you want to be treated. Most people latch onto others and prescribe like all this stuff about, let me just treat these people in this way. And we completely forget the first part of that expression, of the quote from Christ himself that says, treat others the way you want to be treated. Wait a second. So like, we're so focused. Okay, I will put it on me. I'm so focused on treating others well that I've completely forgotten that, like, wait, I need to treat myself well. And there's all this battle that can happen, especially, in my mind, I really had to work through a lot of this of, is this being selfish? Am I just me, treating myself well? Isn't that just me being selfish? Shouldn't I be sacrificial in everything that I do? And if you're a parent of any kind, it's like, oh, well, if I'm wearing the mom hat, oh, well, I better, make sure my kids have the lunch packed. Or if you're wearing any type of hat at all, in fact, the way my husband and I operate, I mean, we really don't have any clear, like, stereotypical male female roles going on, because we both have our own businesses and we collaborate and we pick up the slack wherever it needs to be picked up. So I'm like, I have a hard time even seeing like, oh, well, moms do this, because my husband oftentimes, wears those hats of, making breakfast or something along those lines. But whatever it is, sometimes we feel this obligation like, oh, well, I have to be working this hard because my family needs me. I can't do that because I need to make sure this gets done. And instead of doing, oh, here's one, I've been telling my husband for years, like, you just need to go out and get lost in the woods for, a period of time, like, and not in a bad way. I know that's where people of a certain kind, like, we connect really deeply when we're out in the wilderness. Like, we love being in the wilderness, and sometimes being alone in the wilderness is it's so like fulfilling and nurturing to the soul. Like, it's one of my favorite things. Mountain biking alone can be very satisfying because it's just this deep connection out in nature. And so I've told him, like, go get lost. And then he'll give me all these reasons why he can't go. And he attaches them onto us, basically his family, for the most part. It's like, and I tell him, like, no, these are not reasons for you to not go and pursue this. But I noticed that most people have this. You don't have to be a parent in order to have this. Oh, I can't. I mean, that's why on Parks and Rec, that's why two of the characters have their whole thing like treat yourself, right? It's like we think it's special, like we have to wait for this special day in order to treat ourselves well. That's so messed up. Like just saying that out loud is just like, that's so messed up. It's kind of like fine china. Like, oh, why do I have to wait for a special occasion to pull out the very best fine china to eat on? Why do I have to only wear my favorite pair of jeans to these certain events? Or why do I only wear this favorite, sport coat of mine, right? Like I see my husband only wear certain things at certain times. Like I only wear not so much anymore because I've been working to break this part. But it's like, why are we waiting for special moments in order to treat ourselves well? Here's what I'm finding, and I've spoken about this before on the podcast. But how we treat ourselves, particularly those that we are in our closest relationships with, however we treat ourselves is going to come out on those people we care about most. For better or for worse, I treat my husband as an extension of myself. And I'm very self-critical. And I'm very driven and motivated. And I have these expectations I project onto him because, well, that's how I treat myself. That's how I talk to myself. That's how I motivate myself. Like, why isn't that working for you? And yet, what that reveals to me is that I'm not treating myself nicely. If it's not a way I'm going to talk to a friend, why would I talk to myself that way? Because now it's coming out to my husband or my kids or maybe my best friend in a way that's really, it's not how I want to treat them. And I have to backpedal and be like, oh, sorry, that's really bad. But really, most of us need to do some backpedaling for ourselves, where we realize like, oh, wow, I should not be treating myself like this at all. Like, if I'm not going to treat my friend like that, why would I be saying this to myself? So naturally, I love listening to other podcasts. I love reading books. I read Michael Neal's book, Super Coach, last year, and it was phenomenal. I don't agree with everything in the book. And if you're tracking with me for any period of time, you know that I like to read books that expand my mind, that challenge my thoughts. And that book definitely did that. It challenged me. It expanded me. I still don't agree with all of it, but it definitely helped me expand my mind. And I appreciate that. So I also listened to Michael Neal's podcast. And recently he had a podcast on this topic. And he came up with a new rule. And it's pretty funny because he does not share my faith at all. And so I think that's even adds a little more humor to it. But he says there's a new rule, and it's the platinum rule. And I think I would like to help spread that like wildfire, right? And it is really like really looking at how we're treating ourselves. We need to treat ourselves well so that we can treat others well. How we treat ourselves is going to come out. Can't even get the words out. How we treat ourselves is going to come out into the world in some capacity. So do you say no to going and grabbing a beer with your buddies because you're like, no, I need to be at home? Like, no, you would want your partner or you would want your friend to go and do something that makes them happy. So go and do something that makes you happy, right? So I just want to encourage you to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. And for years, I thought that was absolutely selfish for me to look after myself and to do things for myself. And I'm not just giving you this podcast like, oh, make myself feel good or something like that, but I really want to help empower you to make those kind of choices for your own life, because you will show up as a better everything in every part of your life. For me, I cannot even wait. We were able to get out and go bike riding this weekend for the first time of the season. Oh my gosh. and we're headed over to the Seattle area to do some single track riding coming up soon. And so it's like, those are things that make me really, really happy. And when I can get out on the trail by myself, it's just peaceful and it's special. And sometimes my husband will say like, oh, I get the feeling you don't want me to go. And sometimes I'll like feel like I have to like, yeah, come along, even though it's a time where I just want to go ride alone. And it takes a lot for me to say, no, I just want to go ride alone. Like there are times where it's good to be alone, to catch your breath, to get grounded, to get restored, or to get reconnected with friends, because connection is so important. So I want to encourage you this week, like, don't neglect yourself. Look after yourself. It's not treat yourself like once a year, you can treat yourself well. No, treat yourself well every single day, because as you treat yourself really well, you're going to treat other people really well, because treat others the way you want to be treated. So let me know what you think. Let me know how you treat yourself. Shoot me a message, julie@julieholly.com. But I'd love an honest review. So after you listen to this, wherever you're listening, go drop an honest review and let me know what you are thinking as well. Until next time, live big, love bigger. Overwhelmed by apartment syndication but want to learn more? Let me help you press the easy button. Head over to 3keysinvestments.com and download Syndication Made Simple. I explain simply how the process works, who's involved, and how you can get started today. You're smart, and with this simple guide, you'll be able to understand the process. Head over to 3keysinvestments.com and download Syndication Made Simple.